culture. Everything is permitted.
Welcome to episode 42 of Everything is Permitted here at Wade's Comic Madness. I'm your host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-host, the Man of Steel, Matt Reppert, the Master of Puns, Brittany Tomes. How we doing?
We good. At least I am.
I'm wondering if we're going to learn the secret to the universe in this episode.
It is episode 42. It is
God.
Indeed. Maybe we will. Maybe
Matt's
we
about
won't.
to hitchhike right out this room right now.
He is. That wasn't really a pun. I mean, it's a good point. It is
know.
episode 42.
That's what I think of.
Just saying. Just saying.
Yes, I get it.
Don't give sass. Don't be sassy.
I will be as sassy as I want.
He's like, I was up at 5 o'clock. I don't need
I went to bed at 5.
I went to bed
Exactly.
at 3, woke up at close to 9. Matt is a vampire, and Brittany is Brittany. Great show for you today. It is Star Wars month, and it is also the start of the Great Permitted Star Wars rewatch. And if you are watching along with us, we are on the worst Star Wars movie ever made today, if you're listening, and that is Attack of the Clones and Anakin and Padme rolling in the grass.
I agree. The sand is so sandy.
I'll be totally honest, though, is that the terribleness of any of the prequel trilogy movies has been like pretty damaged by Robot Chicken Star Wars specials.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Because those are freaking
But you are not
amazing.
sandy, and that is why I love you.
I love the thing when like Anakin's doing the bread floating and Padme just wham smacks him. She's like, rejected.
If Master Obi-Wan saw me doing this, he would be very, very angry.
And you're like, this is a pear I'm floating over to you. It's a parent. I like you. And you're like, oh, God.
Oh, God.
That
Oh,
was
God.
that was pretty bad.
That was pretty bad.
That was very
I'm
bad.
convinced that maybe George Lucas just couldn't write romance.
I mean, I think that's pretty obvious. I mean, though he did a pretty decent job with Han and Leia in the original trilogy.
But it's easy because it's the
But
will
he also
they, won't
didn't
they,
write-
I hate you, I don't. And
Yeah.
other people wrote it.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Well, and Han and Kira in Solo, too, but he also had nothing to do with that. So, yeah, again, not George Lucas. Yeah. And then, Finn and Poe.
Stop trying to
Sorry.
Stop trying to make excuses for him, Julian.
God bless his wife. Not only for saving Star Wars in the editing room, but also...
So if you are watching along with us, we are on Attack of the Clones, and you should now also have 2 words to translate out of Arabic, the language of Star Wars. Email those words to us at permittedpod@gmail.com. If you translate every single word, you are entered in our contest that we're doing along with our awesome friends here at Wade's Comic Madness for a free bundle of awesome Star Wars comics along with a copy of Jedi Fallen Order on the console of your choice from yours truly here at Everything is Permitted. So send us those words. Rewatch Star Wars, guys. We're getting there. We're getting there. Just a few more. Like a week and 2 days if we're listening on Tuesday, and then because we're seeing it on that Thursday.
oh my God, that's so soon. I'm so excited.
I might not be able to see it on Thursday. I have to go on just to the Saturday show because I'm working Thursday.
You suck.
I know. See, the thing is, I normally would take off work, but that's my overtime day, and that's several $100s right there that I would lose.
And it's Christmas. Yeah, that's fair. That's an acceptable excuse.
Yeah, I mean, because I was looking at my schedule and I'm like, crap, because before that wouldn't have been no big
That's
deal
all right,
to
because
go.
when we all see it on Saturday, Brittany and I will just tell you everything that happens as we're watching it.
Well, then I'm going to kill both of you.
That's fair. That's
Matt,
acceptable.
can I just say that you remind me of Penguin right now?
Why do I
The
remember?
Gotham TV series?
Wait, why do I do
Because the way you have your little headphones on, it's poofing up your hair in the back, and it looks like the really cool Penguin.
my? Okay.
Ladies
have
and
to see
gentlemen,
it.
That was-
the random soundbite of the month goes to one Brittany Toes.
I just want to see him like Danny DeVitoing around, being like, yes.
So
You've won a new car. That was very random.
I've never been told that I resemble, is it Robin Taylor Lord?
I don't know
is
his name.
actor's name. Yeah, something
I
like
know,
that.
it's the hair, really.
It's the
You know how it does that spiky thing?
Along with our Great Permitted Star Wars rewatch, our Great Permitted, there aren't Great Permitted, but the Permitted mystery boxes should be shipping out very shortly. Right after we record this episode, we are going to the mall to buy your items if you pre-ordered one. So thank you for doing that. And those are going out, like I mentioned.
I think they're pretty great.
They're going to be awesome. They're going to be awesome.
Everything we do is great, so
I mean, I would agree with that.
we'll change our show to everything is great and permitted.
Everything is
Things
awesome.
will all make sense when I'm older. I just saw Frozen 2 for the second
Wait,
time. So I have it all
have
stuck in my
either of
head.
you guys seen the Lego movies?
I've seen the first one.
Because
I love Lego
everything is
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. Great show for you today. It is Star Wars month. We are going to be going along how like we have been for the past few weeks. We're going to be reviewing The Mandalorian Chapter 5. We are also going to be talking about actors that we would like to bring back from the great beyond for one more roller to who it is that we'd bring back. We also did a Facebook poll about it. And then, because it is Star Wars month, we are going to be talking about some of the best Star Wars video games ever. I'm really excited about this.
Yes,
segment.
that's going to be a lot of fun.
And I'm an idiot because I forgot to put some cool like Star Wars gaming music in here to do. So I'll edit some in after, but it's going to be awesome. I'm so stoked for this segment. It's going to be a blast. I like that Brittany and I have like a favorite Star Wars game in common. So in Star Wars Bounty Hunter, but we're going to get to that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't rate that very well.
Way to spoil that.
You got to give a little bit of a,
Plot twist. We're
like
talking about
something
the
to keep them listening.
Give them
you
a
know?
taste.
Yeah, give them a taste. So with that, it is time for some rants and raves. And Matt, right before we started recording, you got really excited because you came up with something. So I'm going to let you go right ahead.
So this is, I don't know if I want to call this a rant or a rave because it's almost hilarious at how stupid it is. So obviously Black Friday happened recently. There's a lot of sales and stuff like that. And obviously with Black Friday, there comes commercials. Now, I didn't know about this until literally last night, but there was a commercial for a Black Friday sale of Jedi Fallen Order that literally spoils the ending of the game in the commercial.
Oh my god!
It shows, like, I don't think Brittany's beaten it, so I'm not going to spoil it, but a character that shows up right at the end of the game appears in the commercial. And Julian, you probably know exactly who I'm talking about.
I do, and that's frustrating. That's
It's like,
I would be so pissed off
because I watched the commercial and for a while I was like, well, there's nothing that's really spoils anything. And then right near the end, I was like, okay, yeah, they just totally spoiled it.
I would be pissed.
Yes.
I would be pissed. At the same time, it's like really hard to make a Star Wars video game without said character showing up. So it's like
True.
inevitable, right?
Yeah,
It's like River Song showing up. Spoilers.
Boom. Doctor Who reference.
Missed
Love
that
it.
lady.
oh god,
I have a feeling. Wouldn't that be awesome with her, Jodie Whittaker?
Yeah, she just
in an
shows up
episode?
and she's like, "Well, technically, I'm always married to you, so
Yep. Yep.
this lesbian approves."
I know it was supposed to be like the end of the arc with her and Capaldi, but no, I'd like to see River back.
She's just like a good actress, and her
She
character's
is.
very compelling. So you're like, I love when you show up and you just do like really, not really dastardly things, but she just does like cool things.
She's the best.
Yeah.
She's the best. Hello, sweetie. Love it. I hate spoilers in anything. And I don't hate spoilers. I because we talk spoilers a lot on the show, but I don't like them in like video game commercials and movie or TV ads like about like episodes that just aired or movies that just hit theaters. And then like I think they put Cap with Mjolnir like 3 days after Endgame came out, and
Ouch.
people were
Yeah, the next time they showed it,
pissed.
they're like, "See the top film in the
Yeah.
U.S." And then all of a sudden he had it, and you're like, "Oh, that's like a woo moment."
Man, one of my good friends, Matt, I think you know him, Brian Becker, was like so mad at me for even like posting a photo of Cab of Munir. I think it was like a week after. I'm like, come on, like it's a week, 3 days. Well, let's talk, but a week, that's fair.
And plus, was anybody really surprised? You were more like relieved, like, "Yes, we knew you were worthy. Let's go." Like,
Fair point. I'm going to rave then. I am going to give the biggest massive shout out to the best tattoo artist in Pennsylvania. Not just the greater Philadelphia area, in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to butcher your last name, Chris, but Chris Coolidge. I probably have that wrong, but Chris, I'm really sorry because I have no idea how to pronounce your last name. Chris did the most amazing Baby Yoda tattoo on me last night, and it is so much more than I thought it would be. I thought I was gonna get this like little thing like up top of my arm, and it's just like this awesome. I love it.
I love it too. I kept sharing the picture with everybody I knew.
You
I was
did.
like, "Look at this fucking
It was like on Instagram and Brittany's Facebook. I'm like, damn girl.
because it's so cute and it's the best one because you're not seeing a lot of tattoos for it yet, and the only other one is Baby Yoda with the
With
white
the
claw,
White Claw.
which is like, oh, and like even the Baby Yoda doesn't look that good. Yours is like
No, the Baby Yoda on the White Claw.
yours
sucks.
is like concept art.
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like, oh.
Chris is an amazing artist. He's done my other Star Wars tattoo that's on my calf of the Rebellion logo and X-Wings, and I have some Arabesh written on there. He's a great artist. If you have tattoos or you're thinking about getting a tattoo, please check out the Inkwell on Instagram, and they also have a website, and check out Chris's work. He is the shit. He's
Chris has done like all my wife's tattoos.
That's right.
so.
He has. So
Now I'm going to have to get a tattoo there.
you should. I will make an introduction, and you can get a Baby Yoda too.
I don't know if I'll go that hard with Baby Yoda, but probably a Last of Us tattoo.
Oh, boom. Get like an Ellie portrait.
No, I meant like the tattoo she has legit in the second game.
Oh.
Ever since I saw that concept art, I was like, I'm getting it. It's going to happen.
Anyway, check out the Inkwell. Check out Chris. Check out his artwork. I've posted it everywhere on social media, so you can check it out there. I should probably post it on our social media pages, I guess.
Yeah, probably.
Why not?
should.
That's pretty short for Rants and Raves this week.
Well, that's fine because it gives us more time to talk about Star Wars games and actors
It's true.
we bring back
It
from
does.
the dead.
This
so
is good.
I'm
This
actually
is
really
good.
pumped for this episode.
Pump it up.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Thank you to everybody who stuck with us and still listens to the show with all our antics.
Our random shit that we say.
We love you. I guess with that, it's time for
The Permitted Minute.
The permitted minute.
the permitted minute. And we're going to go here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mr. Gaeta, start the clock.
According to Parrot Analytics, The Mandalorian is the top show in the world in demand over any other show across all platforms.
DC Fontana, the famed writer for Star Trek, has become one with the final frontier. She was 80 years old. Live long and prosper, DC. Also, on December 3rd, PlayStation turned 25 years old. That means the console and Brittany are a quarter of a century old.
Woo!
IGN is reporting that a new Starship Troopers game is in development, arriving in 2020. Would you like to know more? The Magicians will arrive for their 5th season, hitting the Sci-Fi Channel on January 15th.
Speaking of new seasons, Doctor Who is taking the TARDIS on more adventures, with the new series hitting our screens on New Year's Day. The Star Wars Galactic Cruiser at Galaxy's Edge at Disney World will start accepting guests in 2021. Who's ready to take the jump to light speed?
Dun, da, da, da.
Did we do it?
Oh, God, we did that.
Yeah,
in
I'm sure.
plenty.
Yeah, that felt
we
really
didn't.
fast.
We
We're
didn't do
like,
it. We didn't do it in a minute flat like the 3 before.
No, there was a lot of news like early in the week. Like I got our outline done by Wednesday, and then there wasn't really anything done, like any big news on Thursday or Friday. So quick, easy permitted minute there. I actually have a really cool idea for the
that?
permitted minute. I'm not going to talk about it on the show, but I'm just letting you guys know, and I'm going to get our listeners' juices flowing that I have a really cool permitted minute idea that hopefully you guys will be down with. But look forward to that maybe in 2020.
He's got 2020 vision.
you gotta use something. For that.
Oh, I got it.
Shame. Shame.
That's what
That
you
was
get.
nice. Just a little bit of shame.
Just a little bit of shame. Guys, before we get into our main segments, I do want to take a real quick talk about 2 trailers that we got for some pretty big movies coming out. That is for the first Phase 4 Marvel movie, despite it being a prequel, in Black Widow, and the upcoming final Daniel Craig James Bond film, No Time to Die. Now, I've never seen this happen before, but both the Twitter poll and Facebook poll ended with the same exact percentages in results. It's crazy.
Unless the exact same amount of our viewers did both.
I hope not.
I don't
I hope
think
this
so.
is just
That's
a really
really weird.
random occurrence because it's pretty awesome. It was unanimous that both on Facebook and Twitter, 58% of people were more excited to see No Time to Die over the 42% on both Facebook and Twitter who wanted to see Black Widow more. How about you guys? Who's excited to see Black Widow? Who's excited to see No Time to Die?
Say Brittany's is like.
I want to say 10 years ago, I would have been the most excited to see Black Widow. But it's been far too long. And as much as I love the character in the comics and would love for her to have her own movie, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to see it like I see every other Marvel film. But I'm more excited to see No Time to Die because I love James Bond. I'm a big James Bond person. So yeah, I can't wait.
You could say you're
I'm
a
gonna see 'em
Bond
both.
girl.
I am a Bond girl in a way. But
There you go, buddy.
as a child, I more so had delusions of grandeur and like thought I was like James Bond. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, that'll be me one day. And I was just like, this makes no sense.
International Woman of Mystery.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm actually like both movies. I'm kind of like I'm curious to see how they end the Daniel Craig era because it very much seems like the way they kind of present the Bond universe now is that the Connery Bond, the Timothy Dalton Bond, they all existed in this universe. It's just 007 is a mantle that's passed on to a new person. Like, all right, you know what? Our last Bond is dead, retired, whatever. You're now 007 James Bond. Like that's your name, that's your job, that's your title.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, like, I'm interested. The thing is, though, in regards to the Bond movie, though, is like if Spectre was okay, but Skyfall was like
was really
was
good.
like the pinnacle of the Daniel Craig Bond movies. But Spectre, like, they introduced Blofeld and didn't really do much with him. I wasn't.
Maybe that was the point. They were setting up the fact that the Spectre was that, like Hydra, had many tentacles, and they're all a bunch of League of Bad Guys.
You all couldn't see Brittany just like flailing
She
about.
was tentacling around.
But the
flying spaghetti monster.
But I don't. But the thing is, though, is that like Blofeld is like the ultimate Bond villain, and you've already essentially burned him, and now Rami Malek is who, you know, he's a good actor.
Rumor is it that Rami Malek is going to be Dr. No.
That'd be interesting.
I don't know, but like you said, Skyfall is the epitome of all the Bond, like
Also, that
Daniel
song
Craig
went
Bond
so
films.
hard. The
Oh,
opening
Adele
so
Adele
hard.
kills it.
It's
Yeah,
my favorite part of every Bond film. If the opening and the song get me, I'm like sold.
but
I don't care what happens the rest of the film.
I mean, between Skyfall and his first film, Casino Royale, which I think is still maybe the best of all of them.
I still never saw that.
I like Casino Royale.
Oh, this is happening. Maybe sometime this week.
It definitely kickstarts you into like, oh, this is what Bond is now. This is Daniel Craig. Honestly, Daniel Craig's my favorite Bond. I like
I'm
what he's done
surprised
with
that
the
you've
character.
seen all the other films because they all connect, and haven't seen Casino Royale.
Yeah, his actually do connect in it.
Which is
I
cool
don't know.
because
I'm just better than
none of the
others.
other
Most
ones
of them are
really did.
standalone.
I like how we've pretty much just dropped Black Widow, by the way. And
Well,
we're just talking
no,
about
I'm
James
gonna.
Bond.
I
We'll
have
get back to it.
I have a point about Black Widow. So,
Calm down there, Taskmaster.
oh, nice.
That's
Well
revealing.
done.
Get it?
Yeah.
Damn.
I got a nod from the audience.
I'm with a 58% too. Like Brittany, I love James Bond. If you've been in my house ever, you see the whole set of James Bond films sitting on my DVD rack. I was going to say mantle, but it's
It's
not
your
really
mantle,
a
just
My
like
mantle.
007's your mantle. Come on, it was a pun. You did it yourself. Don't do this.
He's doing it. He's trying to get the sound.
I-
Better be a happy one.
like.
You said mantle.
You know what? I'm gonna let this
You
go.
did this yourself.
I'm letting it go. I'm not doing anything. I'm giving up on this
See,
one.
he's seen Frozen twice, and now he's letting
You
things go.
turned her against me.
No, nice. I did it. The nail in the coffin.
That was awful. That was really bad.
But do you see how fast it happened?
I mean, it's like a factory in there.
It really is. And I only put out some products. You don't want to hear all of them.
I am really excited for Black Widow. I am. I'm a Marvel movie fanatic. I love them. But Daniel Craig, James Bond is, and much like everything else that, has to do with film and television in my life, my dad, indoctrinated me into the James Bond films, all the way from the Connerys to, I think I went and saw GoldenEye with him. So, James Bond's a big part of my life. The Daniel Craig films are fantastic. So I have to look forward to that more because it is the end of an era where we just keep getting, not that I'm not excited about Marvel films, but we just keep getting them. So it's hard to have the same kind of excitement for a prequel than it is for what is going to end up being the end of an era.
I do agree with that because the thing about Black Widow from the trailer that I was kind of a little bit kind of turned me down a little because I was hoping Black Widow would be kind of more in the vein of Winter Soldier, like this kind of thriller.
Oh, I think it's going to be.
Yeah, but then, and it seems like it is like that, and then David Harbour shows up. And I love David Harbour. He was probably the best part of the new Hellboy movie, and I like him in Stranger Things and all that. But he's like almost comically Russian, if that makes any sense.
But Red Guardian
That's the
is a
point.
comically Russian character.
He's the Captain America of Russia.
yeah.
And it's like it's a joke, like the whole thing.
Did you see how he reloaded his biceps? Like someone call Henry
so
Cavill.
awesome.
Oh, God.
No, I agree with that.
I know what you mean. The one thing I'll say is that at least, fingers crossed, they didn't do a Hawkeye Black Widow buddy cop movie about them in like Budapest because
I
that's
think
what
this will touch on Budapest a little bit.
I think it will, but I don't think it's going to be the Budapest movie that people were scared it was going to be.
I think that they're, because of the whole thing about Jeremy Renner being like an asshole or something, I actually think they're going to kind of slowly distance him a little bit.
Like
Really?
that whole thing has been blown over because I'm not taking sides because I have no idea. But both of them, his wife and Renner, both sound like complete fucking psychos. So who knows? But it looks like Disney Plus and Marvel is moving forward with him being in the
course
Hawkeye
they
show
will,
on
because
Disney Plus.
money.
Yeah, it's Disney. It's
But I think like if they would have done the Budapest as a movie or whatever, it wouldn't have been like buddy cop as much because
I didn't really
she
mean
was
buddy
like really
cop.
like over the she was in the
Comrade
deep end,
detective.
and he like brought her out. I don't know if that happened specifically in Budapest in this universe or whatever. But I am excited to see. First of all, her costume makes sense. They're not just showing stuff to show stuff. Her hair makes sense to fight. Like she doesn't just randomly have her hair down. I like that in Endgame they did have her hair like braided and tied back because I'm like, she's fighting, she's doing crazy flips, she's jumping off a building, she's not going to keep her hair down all the time. So I'm excited to see them finally give an opportunity to Scarlett Johansson to like fully flesh out her character in a standalone film of her own. But at the same time, it's like, it's another Marvel movie.
It's another Marvel movie, and it should have been in Phase 3.
Yeah, and
They
it should have been
fit
like
it
the
in.
first main female-centered superhero movie. But Marvel missed that boat 10 years ago.
They did.
So it's like
Yep.
now
Speaking
it's
of,
not as big as it could have been. I'll
isn't
say.
today the Wonder Woman trailer, by the way?
It is. By the time we started recording, it hadn't launched yet, so we can't really talk about it. The teaser got me excited. She fucking lassoed some lightning.
Yeah, I know. I was like, hey, did she just do that? But
I'm down.
like a
I
god.
can't wait to watch the trailer. But these two trailers were good. I'm excited about both. I'm more excited about 007. I have a feeling we will be doing a big review show for that and showing Matt Casino Royale at some point because it's really a fantastic movie. It really is.
no, I don't deny it. It
and
probably
the
is. I
late
just never got around.
great Chris Cornell did the opening for that.
All right,
So, yep,
I love that song too.
yeah, they're all good. Let's get into our Mandalorian Chapter 5 review. And Matt, I did this just for you.
I have a funny thing about this, by the way.
Before you go into your funny thing, I will say that Cecily cannot stop singing this song now.
Neither can Heather. Heather has not even watched the show, but she loves this song.
Heather shares that video like once a week.
I know.
It's incredible.
It's the Mandalorian Chapter 5 review. Matt's wife can't stop singing that song. My daughter can't stop singing that song. Baby Yoda's in the room with us forever now. It's time for our Chapter 5 review. And let's go around the room as we always do. Brittany, your initial thoughts on Chapter 5, The Gunslinger.
My initial thoughts were I'm a bit tired of Tatooine, but it was worth it for the references. I like how the episode opened. I like that right away he was being attacked by somebody who's like, it's just showing that even though he destroyed the fob at the end of the last episode, that right away somebody else with a fob is on him. So you're like, oh man, the stakes are high. What you gonna do? And, you know, a little bit of his tactics flying around being like, yoink.
That's my line.
Yeah, I like that part.
That was so stupid and cheesy, but so perfect. I was like, I think I said to Karen, like, that was so bad, yet so absolutely
exactly.
necessary.
It was
like-
so Star Wars.
That's like a Western line once
It is.
again of like
Yeah.
the whole
I can
like.
bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold.
That's my line.
That's my line.
Thank God Baby Yoda had a car seat.
Yeah, I know. He was like upside down. Like,
That was fun.
Because even Baby Yodas who know how to use the Force need a car seat.
Buckle up. This has been a PSA, a galaxy-wide PSA, even to reach the outer rim. You know,
See a TIE fighter out there? Have an Imperial pilot show you how to install that thing. Get it right the first time.
Oh god.
Matt, your initial thoughts on the Baby Yoda show?
I was very much as soon as they land. Like I watched the episode at on my computer at home last night, and as soon as I heard like, oh, this is Mos Eisley, I literally almost screamed.
you were like, "Why, God?"
Yeah, I seriously was almost like, of course it's Tatooine. Why wouldn't they go? There's only like a dozen planets in this universe, apparently.
What kills me is Luke literally is like, if there's a bright spot at the center of the universe, Tatooine's the furthest thing from it. You know what I mean? And yet, for some reason, this literally is the center of the Star Wars universe. They cannot escape Tatooine.
Yeah, and yes, the references were nice and all that, but yeah, we'll get into that.
There were some nice ones.
I do want to sidebar with that though, because even though I think does Luke actually say that?
I don't know. Somebody does. I
Somebody
can't
says
remember.
something along those.
Somebody talks about
I think
it
that's
that way.
actually in the prequels. But here's the thing: if you watch the Clone Wars and you watch the stupid Clone Wars movie that they did, going through Tatooine and Tatooine space is actually on a major galaxy trade route in the Star Wars universe. So it makes sense that there's a lot of stopping there, because that whole thing was that when Jabba's son got kidnapped and Anakin and Ahsoka bring him back, that's why the Republic was able to have the clone army and the Republic go through Hutt, because that's Hutt space.
Yeah.
So Jabba was like, okay, you can use our trade lines
Yeah,
to
Hutt does
travel.
own that world, really.
So it's no surprise that it is, even though it is a backwater planet that is not part of the Republic or Empire, that it is kind of a hub in the galaxy. Like people know Tatooine, people know that it's the Hutts. Mos Eisley is one of the biggest spaceports in the galaxy.
The thing is though is that like if you're gonna go this it's on a major trading shipping route and all that stuff, why is the one of the most wanted fugitives in the galaxy on one of the biggest trade routes in the galaxy then?
I know he got
Well,
a
he was
boo-boo
getting-
in his ship.
Well, he got a boo boo in his
And
ship
he had
that
to
had it.
crash.
That was probably the closest planet.
Well, yes, but why was he in it? That's like I robbed like 8 banks. Let me go cruise down the highway with like cameras and shit all over.
Well,
it.
okay, hold on, because I do want to touch on this too. One of the immediate things I noticed when he was landing and got off his ship, we're talking about how Mos Eisley is a major spaceport, right? Mm-hmm. In the prequels, we see it hopping, like a lot going on. In A New Hope, a lot going on. Dead when he lands. There's like maybe 5 or 6
He walks
people.
into
I think it-
that
I think it
famous
was
walking
cantina.
around.
I think it was dead in the original.
It was
No, the cantina was hopping, man,
The
in the
cantina was
original
hopping. There was people walking all.
I thought you
all
were
through the
I thought you were
streets.
talking about all the crap they added afterwards.
Well,
where there's
even-
like
no,
ships
but-
flying
well,
everywhere
well,
and dewbacks. And,
Well, yeah, but even in the unedited version, there's a lot. Like Mos Eisley is a major spaceport. I loved how they showed that the war between the Empire and the Rebellion has even affected what you could say is a neutral planet in Tatooine, and it's dead. It's
Oh,
empty.
yeah, they got heads on spikes too. So you
Yeah.
know for a fact after the Empire fell, they were like,
Yeah.
let's go.
The famous cantina. That was the cantina. They didn't even have any human employees. Like droids were running out.
I'm
There was
going to
barely
point.
anyone in there.
That whole thing about the cantina. I actually laughed, and somebody I know pointed this out as well. Is we don't serve their kind in here. Like who runs the cantina
Cantina
now,
now, right?
motherfuckers?
The future's here.
Yeah. For me, I'm gonna go all the way to the end of the episode. Spoilers, obviously. Ming Na makes her debut
I love
in this
Ming Na
episode. I
Wen.
love Ming Na, and she's a apparently ruthless, assassin.
Oh,
that
she's
Fennec,
awesome
I think,
too.
yeah, was hired
Yeah,
by the
Fennec.
Empire for multiple jobs, hard to kill,
And the Hutts.
and the Hutts, and then she just gets wasted. She gets wasted by the douchebag that the Mandalorian brings along with him.
At least we think she did.
Well, yes, exactly. At least we think, but hopefully she's still alive, because if she's not, it's a complete waste of an amazing actress.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Ming Na
I think
is
she'll
awesome.
come back. It'll
I
be
do
the same
too.
way that Carl Weathers keeps coming back.
I mean, someone being with her reputation has to have some kind of better.
Yeah.
She wasn't wearing nothing under there.
Also, I didn't see the wound.
I
I
did
didn't
not see the
see a
wound.
certain death, and somebody appears behind her. So
Like you guys, there was obviously lots of nostalgia with the Tatooine thing. The hangar that he lands in is the
hangar that they leave in.
Yeah, exactly. There's the cantina. Just the fact that it's Tatooine, they
The mechanic calls him a womp rat,
calls him a womp
and
rat.
I was like, "Woo!"
Take him to Beggar's Canyon.
I was about to say they talk about
Beggar's Canyon.
going to Beggar's Canyon, where Luke and Biggs used to take their T-16
You got the
Skyhoppers.
dunes.
Bullseye
You
womp
got
rats.
everything.
Yep, exactly. So as much as I love the nostalgia and I kept on going crazy at all the little things, this is still, I think, my least favorite episode
Yeah, it was a weak one.
of the show. It was pretty weak.
So I'm kind of feeling the same way. One thing is, I know in our live review, I said I'm glad there's finally armor that stops stuff, but now it stops everything, and I'm just kind of like, okay, he has to be a little bit mortal.
I know that he justified it, saying that he was far enough from her
Yes.
main killing range for it to happen. But at the same time, I was just like, "Oof, you really took those bullets." But at the same time, it was like I wasn't worried he was going to die. I knew he wasn't
yeah,
gonna.
and now we're starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, he has to be a little bit vulnerable. I'm not saying he has to shrug off blaster bolts left.
He
and
is
right,
vulnerable, but his vulnerability is Baby Yoda. His heart's on his sleeve, and
I
a
think,
real nice mechanic is taking care of him.
I think this episode also showed that they spent a lot of their budget on a lot of the earlier episodes, because the swoop bikes did not look very good going across the desert. It looked pretty cheap. Even that hangar, you knew it wasn't a set, that they were using a green screen.
I
It
think
was good.
They
green
reused a lot
screen.
of shots. I noticed.
Yeah.
Even when he's first flying over the planet, it looks like footage from the older films, but just made to look a lot nicer.
It was noticeable though,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine. I get it. You have a budget and you spend it here, you spend it there.
When in doubt, do a scene at night.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, this is real dark, and they're fighting the main bad guy.
What
Symbolism.
did we think of this wannabe bounty hunter?
I mean, I get his motivation, if I do this, it'll make you legend. But the whole double cross to me was kind of dumb, because you've seen this guy shrug off basically a sniper rifle hit to the chest. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to take him on with like my handheld blaster and everything. If Fennec was like saying to me like, hey, if you get him, you'll be a legend, I'd be like, are you shitting me, lady?
I'm not going toe-to-toe with that
He's going to
motherfucker.
kill
No.
my ass if I go
Exactly.
against him.
So, I mean, I did like that he shot her. Not that I like that he shot her, but for his character, I like
Yeah.
that he did.
Yes.
Because he was like, oh, thanks for giving me all the info. I'm a scoundrel. Bang.
Boom.
He was definitely trying to give off, like, Han vibes and even sat in his seat.
Sat in the seat
And
with
wait,
his
hold
legs
on.
up.
Let's take a moment. Did we see any carbon scarring around that area?
I mean, it's been like 50 years.
I'm just saying.
No, we
They
did not.
can't
I
prove
was
that
looking-
Han
Shot
didn't shoot first.
I'm not going to lie.
He shot first.
I was looking for that. I was
I
like,
was
there's
too.
got to be
I was
like a
like, where's that
blaster bolt
stupid
mark or
Greedo
something.
If you're a Star Wars fan, I think anybody that's a Star Wars fan was looking for that.
Well, there is no stupid Greedo blast against the wall.
Boom.
He didn't juke his head out of the
Han
way.
shot first.
Han shot first.
End of story.
This episode confirmed it, and for that, it's worth it.
Damn, Brittany, take a lap for that. That was awesome. Well done. Well done.
What if I do just get up and walk around the room?
I think it would be awesome. Like, take a victory
About
lap.
an
Brittany's
audience.
actually taking a victory lap.
dear
Jesus
God.
Christ.
Take a picture. I'm walking around.
I wish I had like the Oscar like acceptance music. All right, get your headphones back on. Come on.
Ooh,
We
that's
got
another-
Baby Yoda to
Thank
talk
you,
about.
Academy.
another
Thank
soundbite
you.
I could do.
I appreciate this. Now I'm up there with Brie Larson.
Boom. Speaking of Baby Yoda, this was a Baby Yoda light episode.
Hey,
Yeah.
puppetry is expensive.
It's true.
But he was cute.
Had that engineer with their gonk droids. Not gonk
I like that
droids.
later.
The
Pit droids.
pit droids.
Yeah, the references they did make. I'm glad they weren't all just the original trilogy. It was like all throughout. You're just like, that's from like episode 4. That's from episode 1. What is happening?
And I really liked her line, like, listen, like it takes a lot just to keep them charged. You
Exactly. It's like it costs money just to keep them off.
Oh,
or
one
keep it
thing.
on.
One thing I was actually really thankful for in this episode is that the Tusken Raiders weren't just assholes who
Yes!
attacked randomly.
Yes!
Like he
I
actually
am
like
so
talked to
happy
them
that you brought that up.
because he's like doing like the hand signals to them, and he's like, "What are you doing?" Like negotiating. And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my god, they don't just randomly attack. They're not just the things that show up in the desert to attack."
He's like,
people."
oh, are those two banthas from afar? Watch how they're marching in line so they're hiding their numbers. By the way, here's some binoculars. Thank you. Like Dances with Wolves, Dances with Raiders.
It's
"Oh god."
Under the Tuscan sun.
I don't.
Shame. Shame.
I think he's run out of puns.
you're on a roll.
Thanks.
You're on a roll. I don't know if that's a good thing.
It might
This
be.
is the first time that we've actually seen the Tusken Raiders like fleshed out. You get a little bit of their society when Anakin goes and chops all their heads
Yeah,
off in
yeah.
episode 2. But
Yeah,
like
after they,
the
like,
fact that they're
hurt his
actually interacted with was a really cool moment. Let's take it all the way to the end here, guys. After the Mando destroys this fucking wannabe bounty hunter,
Flash grenade.
we see the limp corpse, maybe just passed out. Ming-Na, whatever, Fennec, right? Fennec?
Fennec.
Fennec.
Like the creature.
F-E-N-N-E-C.
Yeah, like the little fox creature.
So we see Fennec on the ground, and then all of a sudden we hear some spurs walking towards her.
I saw somewhere
And
on the
some boots.
internet that they're implying that she's also related to one of the people in the Han Solo movie, like the Solo movie, that group of fighters, because somebody has the same last name. So they're wondering if that's her son. We'll look into it more later. I don't want to
We will.
confirm with the audience, but yeah. But we do see somebody walk up.
We see someone walk up with spurs. The whole reason behind this episode being on Tatooine has to like be because of this moment. And the biggest theory rumor going around, and it's pretty credible, is that this is Boba Fett.
I hope so.
I really hope so.
Because if not, then they're sarlacking in plot. Do you love how serious I am before I say those things?
Please, no! 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 No!
Ironically, that's also what he said when he fell into the pit.
Probably.
Wilhelm scream.
Behind It can't be anyone else. Then there's 0 point for this episode to be on Tatooine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, and the show kind of is like pulls a bunch of those references, and so to me, I agree with you. Like, it has to be Boba Fett, and the only other person it could possibly be is Carl Weathers, but even that's
that would
really
be a
pushing
stupid.
it.
That would be like a stupid. Like,
Yeah.
why do the fake out? Why not show the face? Like, we know he's alive.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, I know.
It very well could be, and I think that would be a very big missed opportunity.
Maybe, hear me out. maybe they shot it that way so that they could hear the fan hype and who we want it to be, and then they'll be like, we filmed 2 different versions. Now here you go.
Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen.
And that's really where their budget went.
Yep.
They're like, in 1.5, it's Carl Weathers. In the other half, it's who you really want it to be.
Every other piece of Star Wars media has shown that he's lived, books, comics, even though that's not technically real anymore because it's now the legends.
Yeah.
It's a missed opportunity if they don't do it.
Everyone and their moms has wanted him to live since he fell into the Sarlacc pit.
No, I mean legit. Yeah.
Even though he literally has like 4 lines in all the movies. But
Doesn't matter. One of
Doesn't
them
matter.
was used in this episode.
It was.
He's better to me alive than dead.
No use.
He's no-
Oh, yeah,
he's no good to me.
He's no good
There
to
we
us
go.
dead.
I was like trying to remember. I was like, oh,
us dead.
I always
good to
think
us,
of I know Brittany's like that's still around, but epic rap battles when they did Deadpool versus Boba Fett when he's like, oh, you had like 3 lines in the universe and one of them was
All right, Brittany, since this is your jam, what's your one word for today for chapter 5?
Mine was going to be Boba? Question mark? Because you know how I had Yoda,
Yeah.
a bunch of them. That was it. Boba? Question mark.
Mine's just gonna be Tatooine.
Oh God.
I have 6 words because I'm an asshole. We don't serve their kind here.
I was hoping it was. Can I go to Tashi Station and pick up some power converters?
Touch station, pick up some power
I was seriously waiting for them to,
Keep
by
so
the way,
lonely.
when they're riding by on their bikes to go by Luke's farm, like, oh, look at that.
I would have turned it off. I would have turned it off. I would be like, okay, fan service is like enough. Come on.
There's some
Oh,
charges.
it looks like it's a barbecue place now.
Oh God. Dang.
Uncle Owen, Aunt Beru, I just wanted to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. It's my favorite line in all of Star Wars.
I want to go with you. I want to go and be a Jedi like my father.
I want to go to Alderaan and learn the ways of the Force.
Oh, Luke.
And then
Luke.
he was like, "This sister looks pretty nice." Looking for love in Alderaan places.
Boom. Looking forward to next week. Want to know who this guy is? And I bet you they don't even touch on it next week.
Probably not.
Yeah.
That,
That's
that
what
would be a
keep us
very
watching.
keep us going.
If it's Boba, how much you want to bet that he shows up right at the end of season 1? It was
The
just
season
like,
finale.
yeah, like the season finale, like right before it goes to black. That's when Boba Fett steps out, and you're just like, that's when you throw something against the wall.
Yeah, I can
And
see
I-
the internet blow up. They'll be like, "Wow!"
Oh, that would suck, but also be just brilliant marketing and writing on their part. Let's get into our next segment. We'll obviously have our Mandalorian Chapter 6 review next week on episode 43. Let's talk about some awesome actors and actresses that we would like to bring back from beyond the grave. One role, maybe one or 2 more roles. Matt, this is your brainchild, so we'll go around in a circle like we do most of the time here. We'll start with you first.
So this is going to be an easy one because I know everybody. Because Heather and I actually talked about this because Heather was asking me like, "What do you think?" And then Heather was giving some of hers, and I have a list of 6. So
Is it Boba Fett
Yeah,
from the Sarlacc pit?
yes, bring back Boba Fett for one more role. No, but I mean the obvious choice and probably the person I thought of when I came up with this idea is Alan Rickman. I mean, the man killed it in like every single role he did.
Including the best holiday movie out right now, which is Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Like that was his first movie role. Like that was his first anything.
Yep.
And I mean, and Hans Gruber is like an iconic like action movie villain. So yeah, Alan Rickman is like my number 1. Like I'd bring Alan Rickman back. Like the man was just amazing.
Alan Rickman was also on our we asked people on Facebook who would they bring back. He was an easy answer for a lot of people as well, including your wife. She posted that. Would you bring him back for anything specific? I know a lot of people would say like, another, even though Snape died, like maybe like a Snape prequel or something else.
As I said, like Alan Rickman, like you could bring him back for almost any role. And also I will preface this and say, if you bring back these actors, you can bring them back in their prime. You can bring them back whenever, anything you want. So Alan Rickman at pretty much any point in his career, like he'd be great for it. Like Sweeney Todd, like the man can sing. I mean, he was awesome in Sweeney Todd, and like obviously Die Hard. I mean, he was also in like a romance movie.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Hitchhiker's like
I was gonna say the greatest romance movie of them all.
no, I forget what it's called, but
So
I know.
long and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah, but Alan Rickman, like honestly, like I still legit am sad that Alan Rickman is gone from the world. So
Brittany,
Okay, so obviously my main choice would be Bruce Lee and his son Brandon Lee.
Ooh,
I
good
love Bruce Lee,
picks.
and it still kills me to this day how he died so young, and it's just like such a tragedy. And I was really huge into martial arts. I watched his films religiously, like every day after high school. Like I don't know. He was just a huge role model to me. I still have like posters and quotes from him in my room, and I have all like his Jeet Kune Do books that he wrote.
Be like water, my friend.
Exactly. Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
I have a very sad thing to tell you all.
What's that?
I've barely seen any of
So
Bruce
have I.
Lee's work.
I haven't either.
I have it all. I'll let you borrow it.
There you go. Done. But Brandon Lee too. I mean, listen.
Yeah, Brandon Lee was just doubly sad because you're just like, his father died young. He then was going to be the next big action star after his father, following in his footsteps, trained the same way, had almost the same physique, was like ready to pick up the mantle, and then died immediately doing The Crow. And that would have put him on the same track as his father.
And you know what really pisses me off is that like people are like, well, The Crow's not really a good movie. Like people just love it because it was his.
It was good,
his last
though.
one. No,
It
like
was
The
also a
Crow
good
is like
start.
a very good movie.
And there could have even been sequels to it, or
Oh yeah,
some
I mean the
continuation.
sequels that the shit that came out after.
I was about to say there were sequels
God
to it.
yeah. But I meant like with him, like
Oh,
good
yeah.
things.
Now here's the question: would you bring Bruce Lee back in his prime, or would you like to see him just like continue on and like be active throughout?
Kind of like Jackie Chan now, who's
Yeah.
like, kind of more at serious actor
I mean,
Yeah.
roles.
I would have just brought him back at like the time that he would have
Yeah.
died at, because that's also when he started to become big, and he made a lot of strides for like Asian actors, because especially in Hollywood, they were so racist, and half the roles that were like being offered to him were jokes. You had stuff like Breakfast at Tiffany's, where you had like, was it Mickey Rourke?
Mickey
Yeah.
Rooney.
Mickey Rooney, sorry. Mickey Rourke is another person. Anyway, Mickey Rooney, doing that, over the top Japanese or Chinese role. And, every time he would try to get a good job, it would be some goofy thing. They gave the role of Kung Fu to David Carradine, that whole thing where he goes out west. And he was like, Bruce Lee wanted to be that. He was like, this is what I want. And they're like, no, here you go. White dude will do it. But you can like help train these people and they'll be in the movies. And
Yeah.
it's a mess.
And
so.
David Carradine died too, killed
Yeah.
himself, I think.
No, he autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, that,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's
That's
right.
how I learned about that term. Fun fact.
Jesus.
It's a weird fun fact. But yeah, I was a youngin' and I was like, what does this mean? My dad was like, this is exactly what that means. And I was like, I will never look at Kill Bill the same way.
It's time to have the talk with Brittany.
I just assumed, I was like, is it the 5-finger like death punch? Like that's what really got him? Like I was sold. I was like, oh shit, Uma Thurman killed this man. Yeah, Bruce and Brandon, if I could bring them back just for their family's sake, if not for Asian cinema as a whole in the US, that'd be great.
I feel like all of these are going to end up being tragic.
They're all tragic.
They are. And for me, I think this is an easy one. It should be on anyone's list, and that's Heath Ledger.
Yes, he's on mine.
Heath.
And obviously, you could say, well, you wanted to see him interact in another Batman movie. You're actually, because some stuff had to be cut out of Dark Knight to see
Yeah.
what that complete film would have been, but not just for Batman. Heath Ledger was an amazing actor, and he had such a bright future ahead of him.
No, he legit was probably going to be like an A-lister for like the next 10 to 20
Yeah.
years.
He was an up-and-coming actor.
I mean, the dude could do anything. He is still probably the best Joker. Like if you're talking about like
Live
comic
action.
book Joker,
Yeah.
live action, yeah, because Joker from
the artisan film.
yeah,
That's artisan Joker.
that's artisan Joker. Heath Ledger was just brilliant, and unfortunately, it killed him. I would love to see him return to that role. I think it would be great. I think that would be the only reason to have continued the Christian Bale line of Batman films.
Yeah.
To do a sequel to that relationship, because they played so well off of
the
each
third
other.
one probably would have been even better had he not died. 'cause
Well,
then
I think
they
the whole
could've
idea was to have him in
incorporated
Blackgate, and like during that whole like prison escape scene, like have him come out of there. I think that was always part of. I think it's in the novel too. So I would love to see him back just because he was great. I mean, 10 Things I Hate About You is classic. A Knight's Tale.
I love both those movies.
Brokeback Mountain is a great film.
yeah.
Brokeback Mountain made me cry, and I was like, I'm never watching this film again in my life. Okay,
Again.
it's sad. It's a sad movie.
Yeah, but what doesn't make you cry?
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
I will say that
when you
Ma-
cry, it means that you're feeling emotions
Oh,
at
I'm
a
with
very
you.
high point.
I just
okay?
cried
I cry
like
out
2
of
days ago
happiness, I
watching
cry out of
Madam
joy.
Secretary.
What?
Yeah, man.
All right, then.
That's something that didn't come out of my mouth. So
It came out of my mouth, and y'all can fuck right on off.
Oh, Jesus.
Matt, back to you.
So I'm going to jump around my list rather than go down, but John Candy.
Oh, and that was also an
a good
one of our Facebook.
John Candy has been dead for like 25, 26 years. Like, and some of his movies still hold up comedy wise, like The Great Outdoors, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Like, the guy was legit funny, and I mean, the world like lost a really like good actor, you know, essentially at a
really
young
good
age.
Comedic actor,
Yeah,
for
really
sure.
good comedic actor. Like, yeah, John Candy was like pretty much for like a block of like, I want to say around like almost 10 years from the late 80s to like the mid 90s when he passed away. Like, most of John Candy's comedy movies are like classic must watches. Like, even his less good ones are still pretty funny by comparison. So yeah, John Candy, I would bring him back for another comedy movie just to see like what he could do, especially in today's environment and stuff like that. So
He would still kill it today.
oh no,
he would,
crush
right?
it. He would crush it.
Imagine him doing a movie with who also died, unfortunately. Had to be his role model from Black Sheep. And
Chris Farley.
Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Imagine those two together. I mean, Jesus, would have been amazing. Brittany, back to you.
Next on my list is Anton Yelchin.
Oh,
Chekhov in Star Trek.
Chekhov.
Yeah. I remember after he died, I saw his movie Odd Thomas, and it was so sad because I was like, oh my God, he's dead. And this is such an amazing movie. And like, it just made me sad that like when certain actors die so young that
He was really young.
he was really good. And so sad how he died too. It was just like literally
It was
an
a freak
accident.
accident with his
car
car.
failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. His brakes, I think, failed. His e-brake failed, I think.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
And it rolled back on him and he got crushed.
Yeah.
And it was just like, how does that even happen? And like, man, as much as I like the Star Trek films and the fact that now they're doing a fourth one, it's just like, but Anton's dead.
Yeah.
So I get how maybe they'll find a way to write his character out or replace him, but it's just like rough.
It is. It
He
really
was definitely
is.
an up and coming actor, and it's sad.
More tragic deaths.
People listen to this are gonna like cry.
Christopher Reeves,
Yeah.
Superman. Again, he wasn't just Superman. He had some great roles. He did some horror as well. He was, I believe, in a version of Children of the Corn. Just the way he died too. He lived for a
leading
long
up to
time
that. Yeah,
after
the accident
but the accident
is what
that
essentially, like-
took him out of the game.
Yeah.
It's just it's so tragic. And then his wife died too.
Yeah. My mom met Chris Reeves
On
one of
flight?
her flights. Yep. He was as nice as you can imagine him to be, and he helped a little boy who apparently was like terrified of flying.
Oh,
Yeah.
told him he was Superman, and it's okay.
Well, it was like, without going into the story, like the little boy was terrified of flying, and my mom knew Chris Reeves was on the flight, and so she went up and said, "Hey, there's this little boy who's terrified. Can you like just help him out?" And so Chris Reeves had the little boy come up to first class and was like, "Yeah, I'm Superman. I get tired sometimes, and I fly on a plane."
That's
and like the
awesome.
little
Oh my
boy
God.
was like just totally blown away by the fact that, and this was after the first Superman movie, so like Chris Reeves was like
Yeah.
huge. So but like little boy knew exactly who he was.
Yeah, so it's like if Superman's on this plane,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
we're fine.
That's exactly what
Now,
happened.
I did make this pick specifically for Superman because imagine Chris Reeves, a little older, doing a Kingdom Come Superman. We're going to see that
That
starting
would've been
tonight. Tonight. Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I thought you were gonna go like Phil Collins, but like tonight.
Don't. I'll put it in. I'll edit it in later. I'll put it in post, baby. Gonna get to see Brandon Routh, which is the continuation
Yes.
of Christopher Reeve's Superman as Kingdom Come Superman in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover event starting tonight. It's already been a couple episodes if you're listening on Tuesday. But Christopher Reeves.
Yep. All right. So back to me then.
No, you are not allowed to go again. Sorry. Yes. No. Back to you.
So this is one that I'm going to go with the ladies and Carrie Fisher.
Oh, that was my last
took
one.
one off my
So
list.
Carrie Fisher, like I would love to have seen what she would have done in this last Star Wars movie.
She was gonna have a lightsaber.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, probably. Like there would have been like and honestly, Carrie Fisher, like she portrayed Peter's boss in Family Guy. She was actually pretty funny in that. Like Carrie Fisher, the person, was just an amazing person. Like
She also in Blues Brothers.
yes,
I love that. That's the reason I watched that movie when I was younger. I was like, Leia's in this.
Yeah, I know. She had like some bit roles in some other movies, but she was always really good in them. But like, I think in more recent years, she actually kind of started going back to being like more like, other than Star Wars, like she was kind of appearing in more and more stuff. So.
She was, yeah, and she was funny. Like,
She
wrote a couple books.
she legit was funny as hell. Because I remember Kevin Smith saying, like, when he met her, he was like, "Oh my god, I was like, I loved you in like your slave costume." And apparently, she kind of looked at him and said, like, "I'm glad I helped you find your lightsaber."
I just whenever I think of Carrie Fisher, I don't automatically think of Princess Leia. I think of Star Wars, and I think about all the funny shit that she always has to say about George Lucas.
Yeah.
And all the sexist shit that he
Yeah.
made her do, and she doesn't even like hold any like animosity towards it. She's like, it was the fucking times,
Yeah,
guys. But
exactly.
what a douchebag.
She's like, I remember he was like, you can't wear a bra. It would strangle you in space. And she was like,
Yeah, okay,
so I
George.
just didn't wear a bra the entire first Star Wars movie. And you're just like, what? R.I.P. Space Mom.
Oh, we love you, Space
I love her.
Mom.
Back to Brittany.
That was my
Brittany,
choice.
man.
I
That was your
had Carrie
choice?
Fisher. She was my next one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Any backups?
I didn't write down like a whole bunch because I feel like we could easily just scroll through Google and be like, who died recently in the last 50 years?
Well,
okay, I
then
feel
what
like
I'll
this.
do is we'll spend the next like 5 minutes wrapping this up, talking about some of our audience picks, because they're not audience, but our Facebook picks, which were also really good. One of the biggest ones on here being Robin Williams.
Yes, he was on my list as well.
Yes.
I actually, there's one, I'll just throw him on there real quick, but Gene Wilder was another
Oh,
one.
both of them, yeah.
Gene
Yeah.
Wilder's fantastic.
Gene
Yeah,
Wilder.
Gene Wilder is another like.
I'm
really
also
funny
forgetting
dude.
that these people died. Like in my mind, I'm like hoping or something because now that you mention them, I'm like, oh my god. Yeah.
Robin Williams.
What dreams may come, man. Oh man. I watched that movie after he died, like just to watch it again.
guess you
and
cried.
It hit me harder the second time.
Yeah, that's a brutal movie in the first place.
It is.
But
Yeah, no, that's one of the few movies that legit like I want to believe that kind of afterlife exists, where it's just anything you want. Just it's a you have an entire universe as your
Yeah.
canvas, and
Yep.
so
also on here was Leslie Nielsen, but then again, like I mean, he died pretty naturally, right? Like he got old, right?
I mean, once again, this is like if somebody wants to bring him back to do.
I guess
just to bring
like
back
we've
for
just been.
another role.
I guess we've just been like so stuck in like all these tragic deaths that
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh yeah, he died naturally.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
I think it's because that's the
whatever,
people.
Leslie Nielsen.
he had his
So
run.
did Gene Wilder. I'd
Yeah.
bring him back.
Yeah, it's just whoever you'd want to bring back for one more role.
That's a good point. Well then, I think that means it is time to talk about some Star Wars video games. I'm so stoked for this.
I got a top 5 here.
I got a top I do have a top 5, but I should be like a top 20. Star Wars video games going all the way back to the good old
LucasArts.
Yeah, LucasArts days. Man, they made some good games. They made some
did.
bad games too, but they made some really good.
Oh, they made
games.
terrible
Yeah.
games like the Yoda Adventures. Oh god.
Oh god, Yoda Adventures.
There's some that I still like will hear about, and I'm like, I've never heard of that game in my life. Or like, oh man, I wasn't a PC gamer, so I had no clue about that.
The only reason I know Yoda Adventures exists is because when like sometime in the 90s when I went to Best Buy, I remember seeing it on the shelves and going like, what the fuck? And like looking at the bag and going, oh my God, this looks terrible. So anyway.
There's gonna be so many Baby Yoda games. Get ready, Baby Yoda mobile game.
There's gonna put
Baby Yoda
Please no.
MMORPG.
get Baby Yoda over, get Baby Yoda through the desert. Get Baby Yoda to the ship. Get Baby Yoda here. Feed Baby Yoda. Babysit Baby Yoda. Give Baby Yoda a bottle.
We'll just give Baby Yoda some frogs. He's
God,
fine.
Cecily would eat that shit up.
Oh, Disney's banking on it.
Oh yeah.
All them kid games.
They're
Let's-
they're getting ready right now. They're coding that shit.
Let's talk about games that aren't going to be made, but games that have been made and games that have a very special place in our heart. Brittany, you started with Mandalorian. Matt, you started with Beyond the Grave. So, Brittany, it's back to you to go first. Your first favorite Star Wars game of all time.
My favorite still to this day of all time is probably Battlefront 2.
Yeah, that's
Because
number one on
just
my
literally
list as well.
it's insane the amount they pulled off in that game, and they still haven't reached that even with the newer Battlefronts.
What if I told you both that's only my number 4?
I mean, it's still on your list.
That's
though.
fine
It's
because
on my list, but it's my top 5.
But it's a
going
top
from-
5 game.
Oh no,
that's
yeah.
not saying it.
But it's not my number
nobody
1.
in the world has the same Star Wars games list. There's too many games and too much differentiation between like nostalgia and what you
Oh, fuck.
experienced.
I forgot to put
So-
a good one on my list too. This is good because
This is why I'll
switch
rank
this.
Bounty Hunter so high, and the rest of the world is like, "What is wrong
Yeah, why?
with you?"
Yeah,
They don't understand.
they don't. Matt, I guess if you have it in a ranked order, you're
I'll
number
go,
1.
All right, I'm gonna go 5. I'm gonna go.
You're gonna
5
go
down.
5?
I'm gonna go 5.
Well, shit.
Mine is
Okay.
not ranked at all. I'm just listing.
So I kind of cheated a little bit because I kind of would like it's a series of 3 games, but I'm gonna count all 3 as one entity. But the X-wing versus TIE Fighter series. So
Nice.
yeah, X-wing and then TIE Fighter and then X-wing versus TIE Fighter. Like they were awesome, like flight sim games for lack of a better term. That's the only way I could kind of interpret them. But you actually got to play as an Imperial pilot in a TIE Fighter, for example, and there was a storyline attached to the games, and it was a really good storyline. It brought Thrawn. Like I know Thrawn was first
Thrawn was
introduced
in
in the
there.
books, but like he was fully shown in the games, in the TIE Fighter games, and I was like, who the hell is this dude? Because I had never read the book at that time. So yeah, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, all 3 games. That's my number 5.
Here's one that I don't think is going to be on anyone's list but mine, and it is a classic. And I was actually just watching from I can't call them friends. I want them to be our friends. I'd love to have them on our show. The awesome dudes from Mr. Sunday Movies did a great retrospective on Shadows of the Empire.
Oh, please, that's on my list,
Oh,
dude.
okay,
We
well,
talked
good.
about it before we even did
Well,
this show.
goddamn.
Get out of here with my N64 favorites.
Dash Rendar, Prince Shizor.
Yeah.
Just an amazing game. And like, listen, even for the blocky graphics, like there's that great.
But it had good rendaring.
Oh God.
Come on, my man. I deserved it.
Oh man, you remember that part where you have to
Mother of Thra.
You have to like use the jetpack and fight Boba Fett along that really annoying.
The very annoying strip.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was so hard. It was so hard.
There's no mercy.
It's my favorite thing about like
those
the
games.
SNES games and like the Nintendo 64 games is sometimes they were just brutal. And
They
you're
were.
like,
They were not easy.
these are not for children.
No.
It's for you to rage quit and throw your controller in.
There's the
wall.
train scene, and I believe that was like IG-88. You know that,
Yeah.
that game was just fantastic. There's the whole thing on Hoth.
Boop, boop, boop. Hoth. Every Hoth battle in every Star Wars game is always amazing.
It's true.
I just want to say that. It's
It
like
is.
that's what they put their budget into. Everything else they're like, some planet.
I still think that Lucasfilm, before it was bought out, now Disney are making huge mistakes not making this into something. It's very easy to make it canon. It doesn't happen before. It takes place in between Empire and Jedi. It could totally happen. You'd have to get some new actors, I guess. Or you could do it. Dude, I will take an animated Shadows of the Empire movie. I mean, that's me, but I would
They can
love
hire me. I'll do any voice they want.
it. Boom. There you go.
Well, Shadows of the Empire was stole from me.
Well, you stole Battlefront too, so.
Okay. Yeah, but that's easy because everybody's going to say it's one of the best.
Oh, by the way, we should say not the new Battlefront 2.
No, people know.
I hope so.
2005.
2004,
2005.
PlayStation 2.
It is 14 years old.
Battlefront
Jesus
1,
Christ.
Battlefront 2.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
EA sucks. The DLC, it's not in the game. I guess for the next one, I kind of want to talk about like the Rogue series.
Yes.
Like Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader, Rebel Strike, like all that stuff that happened Nintendo 64 through GameCube. They were just fun games. You could just fly around, circle some AT-ATs, and just like drop them.
It's weird how Nintendo had like a stranglehold on Star Wars games for
They
like
did.
a few years.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was really weird.
It's
I didn't
really
think
funny.
about it.
I used to think that the N64 Rogue Squadrons had like the best graphics ever, and like I had the N64 booster pack, and I've like gone and looked at videos now. I'm like,
I know it's so bad. But the thing is, like, they did have good graphics at the time.
at the time they were the
So like
best.
you were like,
yes.
I'm blown away. There's like 3 shades of white in the snow. Like,
And the graphics for the GameCube games were fantastic.
and a lot of the GameCube games were just really fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And I believe
they were just great flying around.
and I have it I think on my list here. The pod racing game was on GameCube, I believe.
I thought that was N64.
I think there was an N64 and then a
Oh,
GameCube.
and GameCube. They overlapped a bit.
Yeah,
I had
they
that
did.
on PC.
Which throws me off all the
Pod
time because like
Star
my
Wars
brain
racing.
tries to rank them a certain way, and then I'm like, no, they were out at the same time.
I had so much fun with the Rogue Squadron games. They were the best.
They're good.
They were just so good. And like the N64 controller was very like, you know, it
It
had
was
that
very fun
center
for
joystick.
piloting.
Yeah.
You were just like, down is up is down.
Yep.
Let me pull the trigger.
Pew pew pew.
Pew.
All right, my number 4 was already said. Star Wars Battlefront 2, the 2005 version.
Thanks,
Yes.
Never the new one. So my number 3 is Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
Yes.
I-
The first one, right?
Yes, the first
Good.
one, not 2. But I really loved the story. Probably one of my favorite moments in any Star Wars games is ripping a goddamn like
Right out of the
Star
sky.
Destroyer.
Star
when he's
Destroyer,
like,
like,
"Ugh," and you're like doing the whole thing, and like that's when I was
that's
like,
everyone's favorite moment in the game.
well, because that's when it's just like, god
amazing.
damn, like the Force is really powerful.
And
Like,
that's when you realize you're like, oh, they took this out of canon for a reason.
yeah,
You're like, oh shit.
well, but it made sense though in the context because like the guy, like Starkiller, like the way the stuff even described him, like his Force, he was like an animal, like a wild animal, just Like he was just wildly using it, and that's why he was able to like.
Yeah, it was primal more than
Yeah,
actual training.
Yeah, he wasn't like focused. He was just like, all right, I got to pull this thing out. And I remember it when I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then he like yanks it towards him. And then you're like, oh my God, this thing
and
is
he starts
cute.
flipping it and you're like, ah!
It stops like right in
Right
front
at
of
him.
him.
And that's when you
Yeah.
realize like how huge it is. That's when you're like, holy shit, like this thing is massive.
The
man.
biggest problem with those games, and they're not on my list, even though the first one was really good, it was just too linear.
I loved it.
Look, no, don't get me wrong. It's a good game. Again, it's not on my first 5 here. It was a good game, but I don't know how to
You
explain.
couldn't explore like in Fallen Order.
Well, yeah, like
right? Yeah.
like imagine if Force Unleashed was Fallen Order. Like you could go from planet to planet and like
And soup up and
explore
customize
And this was just like, this is where you need to be. This is where you need to go. Don't divert from the path. Yada 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 yada.
I mean, like, but the game was designed to be that linear, like story based and all that. And honestly, like I loved it for that. Like,
Yeah.
I love the fact that it had a story it wanted to tell, and it did it very well. And I'll be honest with you, like another great scene from that game is when Vader storms the Rebel Council, and he's like, oh, you never intended to destroy the Emperor, did you? And he's like, not with you, no. It's like, damn, like Vader's cold as hell. Like,
Yes.
I mean, and the whole thing with him at the end of the game, like in the throne room with him and the Emperor and Vader and whatever choice you decide is just like so epic. It is a really good game. Like, don't get me wrong.
no.
It is really fun. And that's Sam Witwer, who is just like huge in Star Wars now. He's done so many voices. He's the voice of Darth Maul in anything animated. Yeah, he's
The
awesome.
same guy. All right.
Yep.
Brittany, you up?
No,
Okay.
no, no,
Yeah.
no,
What
no.
Circles.
order is this?
No, you just don't
Starts in
pay
a-
attention. It's my turn.
The circle used to go this way, now it goes this
Oh,
way.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
The circle is now complete.
Something dark side. There you go.
But Brittany, you could co-sponsor this one with me. You ready?
Yeah.
Bounty Hunter.
Bounty Hunter!
Now, this game,
This game
I'm
was
actually gonna I'm
cool
gonna see if I can pull it
as
up really fast. This game was cool as shit. Big butt here though. It was not well reviewed.
Yeah, I think it's because it just didn't do anything innovative.
We
Like,
played as
a
Django,
lot of
didn't you?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
Okay.
It was just so much, but it was so much fun because that's what you wanted to do. You saw how Django was going around just like bounty hunting, and you're like, I want to do that. So LucasArts or whoever the hell was in charge at the time was like, there's a game for you.
So this is actually interesting. I didn't know this at the time. It was mixed. On IGN, it was an 8.2 out of 10, which is a very good review for their standards.
Because it was fun.
65% Metacritic, which is
Above average.
above average. And then GameSpot was the only one who kind of really poo-pooed on it and gave it a 5.4 out of 10. It was a little wonky. The
Yeah.
controls weren't great, especially that
And it's not like narratively strong. The whole point was so you could like yoink people around and like use all the cool gadgets and just be a bounty hunter.
the parts that made it a little tough were, like when you were on Coruscant, like that whole Coruscant level,
Coruscant.
like that was really tough
Yeah, it
though
is
with
tough.
with the not so great controls. I thought the narrative was fine. Like, it's basically Dooku testing him
Pretty
to see if he's the right candidate to be
The clone,
Yeah.
clone template.
the clone template. It was a really fun game. It was, and you get introduced to what's her name, the shape-shifting bounty hunter.
Oh my god, what's her name?
And there's like
Before she
it's-
gets her hand chopped off.
yeah. Am I crazy because I haven't played it in a long time? But is the last level of that game on Dathomir?
Is it on Dathomir?
It's on like a
I
dark.
never played it, so I can't help you guys out.
And Ventress is in the game too.
I think so. They
Yeah.
incorporate a lot of side stories. That's what I liked about it.
Yeah.
I don't
it
remember
Was,
where it ends.
it was just a fun game. It was just fun.
It was fun. And weren't there little like Mandalorian like, or no, when you saved on the PS2, it was the Mandalorian symbol.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
Because I was like, did we collect those or where did that pop up?
Even though
What
he's
was it?
not a Mandalorian.
Yeah. But at the time, that's the best Mandalorian content we got.
Truth.
So. Okay, scratching that one off my list. You guys already mentioned Battlefront like 1 and 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we didn't do one, but if you want to put one.
I still put 1 up there because like without 1 you couldn't have had 2, but
Yeah.
2 was so good because you had so many planets and just like
It went through all the
everything was
different
happening. It
eras.
was everything. You could pick everything. Oh, I could rant forever about that game. So I'll give a small shout out to number 1, but I will say that I had a lot of fun doing Episode 1 Pod Racer on Nintendo 64. It's probably like the best Episode 1 related game, but it was just like they realized people watching the movie really loved the pod racing scene, and they were just like, okay, we've never done this before, but here's a Star Wars racing game. And we were like, wah!
My mom
Kick
loves
Watto's ass.
like Star Wars Pod Racer on the PC. Like she loves it.
Oh, really?
It's fun.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
My mom would always like be up on her computer like playing it, and she would like, Matt, how do I like get this to run? Like if there was like an issue with it and stuff. She'd play as Anakin, who had like whenever he would crash.
Yeah.
I always remember that scream he would do
Exactly.
whenever he crashed.
That game
And it
rocked.
was the real voice actors of Watto and Anakin that were in that too. Like they did the lines.
Jake
for,
Lloyd.
like,
was it Jake Lloyd?
Yeah, it was Jake Lloyd and whoever the heck did Watto. I don't remember.
Whatever.
That game was awesome,
Yeah.
and that's on my list. So I have to.
It's
I have
just
to
a
cross that off
fun one
now,
too. So
Yep.
like the reason why like Battlefront and this one are like higher up on my list is because like the replayability is high and the amount of fun you're having doesn't like really
Yeah.
drop. You know.
Matt,
So this is my number 2, and I am surprised it has made it this far with nobody
I
mentioning
know what you're
it.
going to say because it's on my list too.
Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2.
Mine is on there, but I never got to play it.
Yeah, Knights of the Old, like now I will say that Knights of the Old
My
Republic
brother
2
and cousins have played it, and they
Knights
love
of the Old Republic 2 is a little bit less in terms because of its bugs, and like they kind of fucked up its story with their like last minute
They
editing,
switched
quote, unquote.
developers too for the second game, right? Or it was
I don't
like
remember.
a studio change.
I don't
Something
remember
happened.
the details of it exactly. The fact that that to this day, what is it? Not Darth Malik. Who is Darth Revan?
Revan? Yeah,
Yeah,
Revan,
Darth
sorry.
Revan is like almost still canon in the Star Wars universe, even though not officially, but like everybody. Yeah, like still references Darth Revan and all that stuff like that. But honestly, I loved Knights of the Old Republic 2 because it actually explored like the depths of the Force and what one could do with it. Like the idea that the main character essentially cut themselves off from the Force because the more they killed, the more powerful they got. And, you know, and then all of the different dark Jedi and Sith and all that could result from stuff like that. Like the one who literally could devour entire planets of their life force to make himself stronger. And he like kept the Star Destroyer together by the Force.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I like KOTOR 1 and 2. Awesome stuff.
So I didn't play Knights of the Republic 2 because of the reasons we talked
Yeah.
about, the bugs, and I believe it was a developer or a
Yeah. So,
or something,
I can't
something
remember.
switched.
There's a whole big storyline behind it.
Also, I was lucky I even got to play the first game because I didn't have an Xbox. I was always a PlayStation guy, and I believe it came out on PC too, but I never had a good enough PC to run it.
Yeah,
so
I think it was PC and Xbox, like original Xbox.
when I was in boarding school, I was lucky. One of my best friends at the time had an Xbox, so
Yeah.
I would be very bad and sneak into his room late at night and go up and play and beat the original Knights of the Old Republic. And I will say this, it is on my list because it was amazing for what it was at the time.
Yes.
It was one of the best RPGs ever.
Mm-hmm.
I will say you can get it now like on your iPad and on your iPhone
Yes.
and play it on a Mac. It does not hold up.
No, I mean, but like a lot of old games don't hold up nowadays if you go back and play them. And that's one reason why I don't, because I don't like to taint my memories of an old game.
You and me are very
I
much
know
the
what you
same
mean.
way. I don't like going back and playing old games.
Like, I mean, like anytime I've done it, I'm kind of like, this isn't as fun as I remember it. And that makes me sad when that happens.
Well, I did that with Battlefront 2 because I was so disappointed after the
Yeah.
whole Battlefront 2 new EA
Yeah.
launch, and I was like, "Oh man, does this game really hold up as well as people say it doesn't?" It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It's also hard because you're so used to the graphics the way they are now and like various gameplay related
exactly.
things. Like it's not as smooth as you
Yeah.
remember, but at the same time, it was smooth and innovative then. So you're like,
Mm-hmm.
this is amazing.
I'm gonna wrap this up and go with the Jedi Knight trilogy because
Yeah.
those
Good call.
games were awesome.
I had Jedi Outcast as my
Yeah,
number
so
one.
Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast
And then wasn't Jedi Academy a part of that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and I
didn't
really
like
Jedi
it. I
Academy
didn't like
was
Jedi Academy.
a lot of
really
people
liked
love
it.
that one.
Yeah, I
didn't
loved
like
it.
it.
I love
I
that
didn't.
you can make your own dude. You could do your lightsaber.
You lightsaber
color.
all the different colors, yeah. If they could take the best part of every Star Wars game and put them into one game, that would be amazing. I know it'll never happen because
Well,
they
imagine
never
like
will.
a Knights of the Old Republic, and imagine Jedi Knight 2,
Mm-hmm.
and like some aspects of maybe like Battlefront in there, or maybe Shadows. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard
It's-
because you're like, there's too much to cover.
It's funny because with the Jedi Knight games, like if you actually go through like from start to finish, it is so confusing because the Jedi Knight series started from Dark Forces, which was the introduction
Yep.
of Kyle Katarn, who
Correct.
originally got the Death Star plans long before Rogue One was a thing. So Kyle Katarn got it, but then in Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight, that's when it was revealed that his father was a Jedi, and that's when lightsaber combat was introduced, and then it became Star Wars Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Outcast, and then from that it went to Star Wars Jedi Academy.
Yeah.
Like it got really confusing, but yeah, I love Outcast is my all-time favorite because I love Kyle Katarn.
Kyle Katarn's awesome, and that game is really fantastic.
Like, I love the fact that, like, the whole Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight is you're trying to prevent this group of Dark Jedi from getting to the Valley of the Jedi because they can absorb the power of the Force and exponentially grow themselves. And then right at the beginning of Jedi Outcast, he's like, I'm going to the Valley to get this power because I need to avenge somebody. And, like, I'm like, Jesus, man, like, you literally, the thing you just spent an entire game doing, you're now doing yourself. So,
But that's like such a Star Wars thing.
yeah.
I would also be remiss not to talk about Fallen Order before we wrap the show up,
Yeah, mine's up there
because
too.
it's not on my list because I wanted to talk about the past more than the present. But I do
Yes.
want to say, you know, I think we've all Matt and I have beaten the game. I think Brittany's getting there. You're on.
I'm working.
She's
on
working
it.
on it. She's working on it.
With what free time I have.
We've had some time to kind of, think on the game. Is it a step in the right direction and the type of game that EA should be focusing on? Like, is it that good of a game, or are we just excited because EA did something decent?
I'm excited because it should be a step in the right direction. Like, EA or whomever at this point should just, unfortunately it is EA.
Respawn, yeah.
Because I think they have the exclusive Star Wars license for I don't know how much longer, but it should very much be a wake-up call to EA to say, hey, we need to develop more single-player shit that is story-based, that is fun, that is, and don't get me wrong, like, Fallen Order is not a perfect game. There are some things about it I don't like. I'm not a huge fan of the Dark Souls type gameplay, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoy its place in the canon that it does and all that. So, I mean, give me more of that, EA. Like, I will buy your game if you give me more of that. If you give me more of your Battlefront 2 microtransaction bullshit, I'm out. I'm not buying that.
Here's the thing, and Brittany, I will let you go in a second. I do have to say that despite the initial fuck up, and I do think that it is too little too late, Battlefront 2 is a very good game now. It's too late. They alienated so many people.
Yeah.
But if you actually go and play it now, with the Galactic Conquest mode, or Capital Supremacy, where like you start on the ground and go up and you have to take down a cruiser, like, it's a blast. It's so much fun. And you can actually customize your characters now and everything, and it doesn't cost anything. It's all about, leveling up through gameplay. It's fun. But that should have been how the game launched. Sorry, Brittany.
No, I was going to agree with that because I've heard from people that have continued to play the game is that, like, at launch, the worst thing ever. But now that more content is out, it's slowly becoming the game that you wanted it to be. But also, like, probably even 2 years from now, it'll finally reach the point where, like, it has everything that you want.
Well, and I know we're getting off topic from Fallen Order, but the biggest problem is, like, they're focusing so much on, like, the ground conquest stuff and, like, starting on land and going up with troops and taking down the Star Destroyers, like, things like that. They've really kind of left Starfighter Assault to die, which is a little sad because that's one of my favorite things. Is to
really
like
like
fly
that.
around and being able to, like, fly a ship into, like, a capital ship in the original Battlefront 2 was one of my favorite things to do.
that was awesome because you had, like, starship combat, but you had to land on the enemy
Yeah, and then you could
carrier
land, yeah.
and, like, blow up their reactor core and everything. So there was ground fighting in the middle of all. Like, that's what made it fun is that kind of ability to, like, all right, I can hop in a ship and then I can hop out and go.
And it was, like,
blasting
realistic
around.
where you're just like, oh, I don't have to be stuck just dogfighting or just doing a certain thing.
Yeah.
So it flowed. I was going to put in, like, honorable mentions the Lego Star Wars series.
Did you want to touch on
It was a lot of
Fallen
fun.
Order? Because I didn't let you really
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, from what I've played of it so far, I like where it's headed. Like, it gives me hope that it's like, oh, we have a good story-driven Star Wars game again. Let's branch out. There's so many stories to cover. Just, like, pick one and do a good game at this point. Like, pick one and do a
give me
good
more
one.
And you
Knights
talk
of the
about
Old
branching
Republic.
out, like, there hasn't been any talk of DLC, and I really hope there is, because otherwise, like, I know I paid $60 for it, and I really enjoyed the game, but, like, if this is it, this should have been a $40
Because it's a
game.
very short storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even with world exploring, it's still a relatively short game.
Yep.
And another honorable mention I had was Republic Commando. Not sure if you
Never
guys
played
or not.
it.
Never played it.
I was
I
on
think
an
I played
Xbox.
that, like-
That was an Xbox exclusive.
I think I
Yeah.
played that briefly. I wasn't too impressed with it, so I was like, eh.
It was fun when it was out because it was one of the main times you ever ran around as the clone troopers, and it was just cool because you were like, pow, 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 pow. You
Especially-
could see inside their helmet, and then you were like,
especially when Order
leading 'em on.
66 happens.
Fun fact: you can play
makes me sad.
as you're gathering points in Battlefront 2. You can play as a Republic Commando now, which is pretty sweet. Yeah. One of my favorite new characters to play with in Battlefront 2 is the assassin droids with the samurai swords. It is so awesome because they have a good blaster, but if you get up close, like you just fucking slash clone troopers down with that. It's awesome. I killed Obi-Wan once with it. I was like,
Yikes.
Hello there.
nope. Slash. Anyway, guys, I want more good Star Wars games. I want them. Give them to me.
There's also so many that are out that I keep coming across ones that like I said before, I've never heard of before or never played. So they're not always good.
Well,
but there are probably like 40 plus Star Wars games in the world already.
Well, and that's the shame is because
Take that, Super Star Wars.
When Disney bought out like Star Wars and Lucas and all that stuff like that,
hard.
they like one thing I will always give George Lucas is that he let people play in the universe as long as they followed the rules. And so many of these games came out back when Lucas was running Star Wars. And I mean, you could say he was a hack, he just wanted money or whatever, but there was some legit
cool stuff.
There was legit good shit that came out of this, and it's like people had ways like, hey, we want to do this game and do this, and Lucas was like, all right, whatever, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, as long as you don't conflict here or here.
Yeah, as long as you don't like kill Luke or whatever like that, you're
definitely
fine.
has some cool experimental stuff.
Yeah,
And you know, one thing I will say, and I don't want to spend too much time because we have to wrap up, but I know when the new EA Battlefront came out, that game got a lot of flack because people said like there just wasn't enough content.
Yeah.
But that game was good. Like it didn't launch with any like, controversy. It may have been small, but the gameplay was fantastic. The graphics were out of this world. And that the DLC for that game continued to put some great maps on there. The Rogue One content they put in there was a blast. Like that game was good. Again, suffered from a lack of content and then the whole Battlefront 2 fiasco, but yeah. What was your favorite Star Wars game? We want to know. You could email us your choices at permittedpod@gmail.com, and we will maybe mention some of those next week on episode 43 before we get into the juice of that episode. That is going to do it for episode 42. Keep watching those Star Wars movies. No. Is no one excited?
It was the way you just like said it and then like smiled awkwardly. I'm like, of course everybody's gonna watch the Star Wars movies.
Of course.
It's up to you if you want to skip a few, but
please don't.
I'm
Just
gonna
do
watch
it.
them all. I'll
Just
sit
do it.
and
Oh yeah,
just
you
binge
want
them
to
all in a day.
watch Attack of the Clones or
I have
Revenge
to.
of the Sith again?
Dude, Revenge of the Sith is good. It's so good.
We're gonna fight over that.
We are. Anyway, that's going to do it for episode 42. Keep watching those Star Wars movies. We're getting there. We're getting close. We'll have episode 43, and then the next week it'll be Rise of Skywalker time and all the fun that surrounds that. May the Force be with you. Have a good night.
You can find Everything is Permitted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Everything is Permitted is produced by Rob Migliaccio, Nikki Veazey, and Geneva Stein-Shivers. Our executive producers are Michael Cox, Brittany Tomes and the Tomes family, and Julian Brown.